Hi everyone, this is the second video of this video series. If you don't watch the previous video, I highly recommend to watch the previous video to understand this video. And if I give a little recap about the previous video, the cookie consent is not by default in Google Tag Manager. And if we like to set up cookie consent, we need some code. And this is the default setup. If you don't have cookie consent configured, you will see something like this in your Google Tag Manager. Now if I go to next slide, and this is the page loading, and we need to set up a default consent, as well as it should be inserted before our Google GTM script, as well as when we will get the consent from our visitor, then we will update our consent. And if you show the code, this is the code actually useful for default consent setup, and this is the code when we update the consent. And then actually we use some others platform for showing the pop-up banner to getting consent from our visitor. So this is the default consent, and then this is this we are showing a pop-up banner to our visitor, and then we are getting the consent, and based on visitor given consent, we have updating our consent, and this is this. And then if we check our next slide, how the code actually working behind. In the beginning, this is our Google Tag Manager code, and this is our default consent setup, and this is the consent update. And when we will getting the consent from visitor, we are updating the consent in this stage. And this is the cookie. Actually it is help to save the user given consent, so that every time we don't need to show consent pop up to our visitor. As well as you see, this is the code. I will discuss this code end of the video, or next of the video. And I have shown few popular CMP cookie consent management platform, and today's video I will discuss about how we can set up cookie consent banner in our website. In this video I will discuss about Cookiebot. So I am going back to my browser, and from here if we search by typing Cookiebot, we will see the Cookiebot website. From here I am going to Cookiebot website, and you see that this is a Google certified cookie consent management platform, as well as it is aligned with the GDPR and others regulation. And you see that it is giving the 14 days free trial, but if we check the pricing, this is not free. Actually this is the $12 per month for minimum subscription. You might have questioned why we need to use this paid solution. Already there is a lot of open source for showing the cookie consent banner in our website, as well as we can easily build a cookie consent banner for our website. But we must have to use the cookie consent management platform, because if we go to the Google recent news related to GDPR, you see that beginning January 16, 2024, publisher, ad developer using Google AdSense and Ad Manager or AdMob will be required to use Consent Management Platform CMP that has been certified by Google and has integrated with IAB Transparency and Consent Framework TCF when serving ad to users in European Economic Area and UK. It's mean that we have to use Google certified cookie consent management platform for showing cookie consent banner, as well as the cookie consent CMP cookie consent management platform has integrated with TCF. We will discuss about TCF later of the video. So I am going back to cookie consent Cookiebot website again. This is the website, and our case is the free trial is perfectly fine for demonstration. And if you need to use this in your real website, you may need to choose any of the paid plans. So I am going to free trial. From here we need to put our email address, and next step it is required to put our password to create cookiebot website. I have already created my website, so I am clicking the login. From here I am clicking the continue with Google. I have successfully logged in with cookiebot website, and you will see, if first time you will see this kind of interface. I am just skipping this. If you like, you can fill this information step by step to complete the settings. I'm just skipping it to show the thing in a single place. And this is the dashboard. From here you will see the domains. From the domains, a link, you need to add your website link. I'm just going to my website. This is my website domain, and I'm adding this domain here like this. Actually, if you add your domain here, then Cookiebot will scan your website and give some report related to cookie consent and other GDPR compliance related things. And then in the configuration, this configuration is related to cookie consent banner pop-up. You will see there is two type of banner. One is dialogue, another one is banner. I personally prefer the dialogue because it will show in front of visitor, and visitor will be aware of it. And I also like to use the overlay so that visitor cannot interact our website before giving cookie consent permission. The benefit of this, that because if visitor use this one, and then he will be able to interact our website, these cases there is possibility to miss lot of even uh, possibility to miss many even before giving his consent. So I am choosing these settings and then overlay. And from here, if you like, you can change the design, and this is the option for uploading your company logo. If you like, you can check it and upload it logo here. And this is the compliance, and these settings actually to manage the buttons and other thing here. And from the distribution, you can choose the your targeted country, only European Union, or I am just keeping this like this, all visitors. And from here I am going to the second tab, and these settings actually related to the text about cookie consent. And then the privacy settings. From here, if you enable these settings, it will show little icon in the left bottom corner of your website. So when visitor already given consent, again he like to change consent, it will show the little icon to bring this consent banner again. So I'm keeping this like this and save it. And then I am clicking the cancel to going back to Cookiebot dashboard. And then finally we need to click the implementation. Here it will describe everything how we need to insert this code. This is the auto blocking, as well as this is the manual blocking. I personally prefer manual blocking so that nothing uh, bad happen in our website. Many cases auto blocking can block your website related script, and we need to put this script in our website head section. But if I scroll down, we will see that others implementation guide. You will see this is the Google Tag Manager. Actually, our cases we also need to insert this in our Google Tag Manager. And luckily, Cookiebot has a standalone template for Google Tag Manager. So I am going back to Google Tag Manager. From here, if I go to the templates, oh, my case, you will see that Cookiebot CMP, but your case, you may not see Cookiebot here. You just need to search from the gallery by clicking here. And now if I search Cookiebot CMP, I say this is the Cookiebot template, and just you need to add this. And then after adding this, you need to go to the tags tab in your Google Tag Manager. And from here we need to create a new text so that we can insert the cookie consent banner related code. So I am giving the name cookie bot uh, cookie consent banner. And then the tag configuration, we need to choose the cookie bot CMP. This is the cookie bot CMP. And then finally we need to use some information here. So this is the cookiebot ID. If we go to cookiebot website, we will see this option to copy the cookiebot ID. I'm just click here to copy the cookiebot ID and coming back to website and inserting it here. And then there is another setting. You see that the language, I am keeping this like auto detect. And then there is another option, the geo region. This is the settings for if you like to show your cookie consent banner for a specific country or only for European Union related country, then you can check here and choose your targeted countries. And then this is another settings, the enable Google consent mode. Actually this settings is very information. If we uncheck this setting, these cases the cookie bot banner only collect the consent information from user. But if we keep this like this, these cases we have to manually insert some code to enable cookie consent mode. If I show that thing, I am going back to my slide. This is the code. If we don't enable this, that cases we also insert this code manually, but I don't like this. So I am going back to the Google Tag Manager and keep these settings enabled. And then third setting is enable IAB transparency and consent framework. In the recent GDPR consent regulation, we have to enable these settings if we like to show Google Ads in European Union related countries. So I'm keeping this like this. I have already discussed about here. This is the TCF and this is the IAB transparency and consent framework. I will discuss about this later of the video. So I am keeping these settings like this, as well as I am keeping all other settings by as it default. And then we need to choose a triggering. From here we need to choose the trigger consent initialization, because you know that this consent initialization is happening before actually starting Google Analytics script. So we need to use this so that it will ensure that our consent is actually default consent is work before our Google Tag Manager initialization. So I'm keeping this like this, and this is the important, and then I am saving this. Now if I preview our setup, now we can see that this is the cookie consent banner, and we see that this is the number of some partner information, as well as we can see the ad settings. Actually this information and this setting is appearing here because of our setting. If I go back to cookie bot again, because it is enable IAB transparency and consent framework, that's why actually this extra settings, the ad settings and the number of partners is showing here. But if we disable those settings, this tab and this number will not be shown here. And now this is the cookie consent bot, but we need to insert some few more code to for meet all requirement of TCF transparency and consent framework. So if I go to the Google documentation about implement the transparency and consent framework, it is showing that we need to, you can enable TCF support by setting following window property true. So we need to insert this code before our Google Tag Manager code. So I am just copy the code and going to my WordPress dashboard where my settings is available. From here I am using a third-party plugin to inserting the code. From here the header footer, actually this is the code. I am just removing this. to showing it from beginning. This is my Google Tag Manager code. Your case is maybe you are using Shopify or any other platform, but you just need to go to the location where your Google Tag Manager code is available. Then you need to insert this code to enable the TCF framework support. But you see that this is a JavaScript code, so we are not allowed to insert this code directly. We just need to type a script tag this way, and between those script tag we need to put this code, and finally we have to save this. And if you are using GTM for WP, that cases I have few more notes for you. So I am going to GTM for WP because I have already installed GTM for WP plugin in this website. This is the Google Tag Manager. And from here you see that my settings is like this because I have inserted the GTM script using another plugin, or if you like you can insert the code in your theme header file. And then another settings you may need, because if I go to my website you see that I am getting a weird message in my website. Really I don't like it, so I am going to the advanced settings. From here you will see, if I scroll down, this is the settings. Do not use console log, so I am just save it. And then if I reload the page, this message will not be appear here. But my case is I also need to clear my browser cache. Now we don't see any weird message. So we have successfully set up our cookie consent banner and all other settings to meet the requirement for transparency consent framework. So in the next video, we will discuss about what actually happening if we allow these settings, as well as how we need to set up for further thing to set up, complete our setup. So you can watch the next video for details about what actually happening here. And I also discuss about how cookie consent banner and the cookie bot and other CMP internally working. It is all for today. Thank you everybody.